Hey everyone, I just wanted to thank you again for coming back and to my new journey. Well, this last week was my son's 3-year anniversary from passing away. So, to go back a little bit, on March 19th, 2020, my son Logan, unfortunately, due to complications with diabetes, his heart he stopped breathing, and on March 20th of 2020, we had to make the heart-wrenching decision to let our son pass and to be able to allow other people to live on through organ donation. So, to kind of give you some perspective of this last week and this week has been super hard and emotional. It's interesting how one year affects you differently than the next year. So last year, I was super busy with my family. They were trying to keeping it off my mind. So the build up to my son's date of passing was emotional. The day wasn't as hard. Where this year, you fast forward a year later, the build up to my son's passing was a huge anxiety and intense, and emotions were just absolutely everywhere. And the day of was just as bad. I know that going through the process of grieving, the there's no there's tons of books written about it. You can go to every psychologist out there, and everyone's going to give you a different antidote or different solution to grieving. However, I'm a big believer that through your own self help and mental awareness and stability around you, you can learn to grieve in a healthy way. So, what I mean by that is there's no perfect way. You're going to have slips, and slips are kind of like when a holiday's coming up and that anxiety starts happening. You know that there's the date that your loved one passed away, and you start you feeling that emotionally. It builds up, and like for me, it was I get very emotional. I'm very triggered, so it doesn't take a lot to set me off, and I become kind of recluse. I like to be by myself, or I like to be with a bunch of people. It's one way or the other. And this year I really spent time just trying to help do my own mental health and focused on looking at the positives that came from it and not focusing as much on the negative, but it's there. It's always there, and it's always going to be there. So, what I mean is focusing on the positive versus the negative. So, when you have a date, an anniversary coming up, and you're starting to feel that anxiety, and maybe for some of us, you kind of take it out on people that you love, not on purpose. Now, whenever this is something that you don't do, you do it subconsciously, and you hope that those that love you are aware of it and they help support you. But it's a slippery slide. So one day you're good and you get triggered. You know that it's your loved one's uh, anniversary to their death or a holiday that's coming up, and that triggers you to remind you of of the all of the things that happened up to the day that your loved one passed, and then the haunting of what you could have done to change that. That one's a hard one for me. I often will go back to the guilt and looking at, if I had only gone up there an hour before, would my son be alive? Had I only performed CPR harder, would my son be alive? The guilt of, I moved up into the mountains and the ambulance, first responders couldn't get there as quickly as it would have been living in the city. There's tons of things that you can mentally beat yourself up with. And that is a slippery slide. That slippery slide can take you from being okay to being down really, really quick. And I think as quickly as your emotions can go down and you're sad and depressed, that it's a harder fight to get back up. And you have to really fight to bring yourself out of that mindset of questioning everything that you did. And what if I was a better mom? If, had I only done these things, would my son be here today? And again, like I've always said, I have to believe that things happen for a reason and that we're all here with a purpose in mind, and hard things aren't handed to people because they can't handle them. It's what you do with those hard things afterwards and the process that you take along that path. Is it healthy or is it not? So yes, I stayed home for a couple days and cried every day, swore up at God, unfortunately. Really had an emotional hard time with it. And I believe that you are okay to not be okay. There is nothing wrong with having a complete meltdown when you're having a hard time. But as long as that meltdown is around people you love and you're able to bring yourself up and surround yourself with those positive people, that you are able to put yourself in a mind state that you can move on and do productive things. So coming up in April, or on Easter, is one of my son's favorite holidays. And since he passed, the last couple of years, I've done Easter egg hunts for his friends and for the community, as Logan Loved and Healing Hearts Foundation, just to give back to the community. And this year I had this gut feeling it was one of those things I really didn't want to do. And I don't know if it's because I feel like it's become a little bit more commercialized and the purpose of me doing it has changed. But this year I've decided to help out families that have custody of maybe their siblings, children, or grandparents that have custody of their children's children. I know a lot of them, just through this research and this journey, that a lot of people, grandparents especially, are on fixed incomes that are raising their own grandkids. So this year we're going to be donating Easter baskets to those families and finding a new purpose to fill our soul and help others. So anyway, I hope to see you in my next chapter of my journey. Thanks so much.